We think that between Pilar and the transaction that we're working on right now, we should be able to get to 30,000 ounces on an annualized basis this quarter, which then gets us to free cash flow break even. The second portion of that transaction that we're working on right now would get us to 80,000 ounces altogether. That could happen by this time next year, and that would put us into free cash flow position.
Talking silver here with Peter and Silver Crown Royalties. Great to have you here. And yes, we have quite some news, royalty payments, and new warrants being listed.
Hi, Arne. Thank you very much for having me today. We're very excited about the royalty payment that we received from Gold Mountain. This, in my mind, really shows that the model that we've put together is working. Recall Gold Mountain went through some operational difficulties. They did have to refinance and put extra money on their balance sheet, and there was change of ownership of the project. It's now essentially being operated by the contractors and owned by the contractors and financed by them as well. So it's good to see that our royalty payments under our model continue to trickle in. In terms of the warrants, yeah, we listed those. So recall we went public in July of this year. We listed the warrants just under 2 months later. We now have two classes of warrants trading, and these are really to provide much more leverage than just a straight equity. That's SCRI ticker that's trading right now on CBOE. The two warrants, Class A, Class B. Class B is an $8 strike. Class A is a $16 strike, and the $16 strike has a 3-year expiry.
Put the details down below. I just already added them to my phone. So it is early days. It will take some days until all the brokers are aware of this, and then people start realizing, hey, I've got warrants and I can either sell them or I can even buy more. So on behalf of shareholders, we've got a lot of warrants from private placements that are not tradable. So Peter, I think that's a fantastic move here from Silver Crown, making this available for us shareholders.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. And that's why we listed them, was to provide shareholders with that extra liquidity, again, to allow them additional exposure to leverage to the price of silver and to Silver Crown equity itself. In fact, I think that the $16 specifically, warrants are now the most torqued or the most leveraged product available for silver investors, short of playing futures options on the COMEX itself.
Definitely. And just coming back to the royalty payment, um, the money that you're receiving, could you put that into a bit of perspective for us shareholders in terms of your G&A and your burn rate? What difference does it make to have 200,000 coming in for silver?
I mean, it certainly helps. Recall this was our first transaction, so it wasn't large by any scale. We deployed a total of $3 million on it. We're getting on an annualized basis 6,000 silver ounces in terms of revenue. So at these prices, that's around 250,000 Canadian annually that we would receive. In terms of our burn rate, we're around $1 million a year now that we're public, and that includes obviously all salaries and all other payments, legal, listing, D&O insurance, etc. Where we need to get to is about 30,000 ounces a year, so 5 times, or essentially repeat Gold Mountain 5 times. And we think that between Pilar and the transaction that we're working on right now, we should be able to get to 30,000 ounces on an annualized basis this quarter, which then gets us to free cash flow break even. The second portion of that transaction that we're working on right now would get us to 80,000 ounces altogether. That could happen by this time next year, and that would put us into free cash flow position and potentially a dividend payment at that point. We'll see what happens with the metal prices, of course, and we'll see how the project that we're putting money into on this latest royalty, how that progresses. But if all goes well, that's the position that we should be this time next year, free cash flow positive and contemplating a dividend.
That's great news. Q1 2025, potential break even. Good news for us shareholders. And talking about shareholders, also great to see that the float is only about 10%, quite tightly held right now, your shares. If you've got a very loyal shareholder base. And of course, if we look at the market today, 32 and change, the silver price definitely in your favor right now as well.
Oh, absolutely, Arne. We do have, and I mean, this is not 43101 compliant by any stretch, but we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.5 million ounces in the ground. That's attributable to us, to Silver Crown Royalties. Essentially, that means that every time silver goes up $1, that should, in theory, add more than $1 per share, since we have 2.5 million shares out. So we have about 1.5 ounces per share. So, $1 move in the silver price should be reflected by a dollar move in the underlying. And then of course, yeah, with the torque warrants, that could be significantly higher there. But silver price certainly is helping. That's going to help in terms of revenues, and of course, getting to that free cash flow.
Absolutely. So, Peter, to sum it up, good news with your royalty payment coming in from Gold Mountain. You've listed the warrants, now having 6 products on the market in the US and in Canada, and really tightly held. Good to see only 10% in the float. And we're looking forward to a potential break even in Q1 2025.
Thank you very much, Arne. Yeah, we're looking forward to 25 as well. It should be a very exciting year for us.